Hello everyone, and welcome to Observations from the Fence Post. In this video, I'm going to be doing a book review of Gwendy's Button Box by Stephen King and Richard Chizmar. Okay, this book is a very small novella. It clocks in at 171 pages, but they're not all reading pages as there are some blank pages between chapters. And this is one of the few Stephen King books that has illustrations in the story. So again, this is more of a novella. It's a quick and easy read. You can read that. You can whip this out in one day with no problem whatsoever. In fact, I've read the story twice. Okay, so it's called Gwendy's Button Box, and here's kind of the story behind it. Stephen King had started this story and then didn't like where it was going, wasn't for sure where he wanted to go with it, so he, saved it and shelved it. Okay. Then Richard Chizmar, who works for Cemetery Dance, a publication company that has done some special edition publications of Stephen King's work, he reached out to Mr. King and suggested a possible collaboration with Stephen. Stephen had collaborated before with Peter Straub. And so Mr. Chizmar thought that they might make a good collaborating team. And Stephen King remembered this story that he had started and never finished and pulled it out and showed it to Mr. Chizmar. And they liked it. And so they wrote the story going back and forth between each other until they both came up with a work that they were both proud of. And they published it through Cemetery Dance in, again, 2017. Okay. So what is it about? Well, it's about this girl, Gwendy Patterson, and it's a coming-of-age story for her. And it starts off, she is jogging, and as she is jogging, she runs into this strange man, Richard Ferris. The man is dressed all in black, and he has a button box, which he wants to give to Wendy, and he convinces her to take it. Now, what is this button box? Well, it is this strange box that has 8 buttons on the top and a lever on each side. So imagine, if you will, we got a lever on the box on one side and a lever on this side. And there's 6 buttons that are all colors on kind of clustered together on one part of the box. And then on the other side of the box, there's 2 buttons, a red button and a black button. And they all have some sort of thing that can happen when you push it. So that is the crux of the story. Again, this is about Gwendy Patterson. It is her growing up, being charged with this button box, which has a great amount of power. If she presses the red button, she can get anything she wants. If she presses the black button, that's it for everything. Okay. One lever gives out chocolate, another lever gives out some coins, and the other 6 buttons are all a different color, and each represent a continent with people on it. Okay, so that's kind of the setup for Gwendy's Button Box. It has a whole lot of themes. Obviously, being a coming-of-age story, it has themes of growing up. It certainly has themes of temptation. Particularly some of those, the what I call the danger buttons, the red button and the black button. Lots of temptation there. It has responsibility and power as a theme. It kind of made me think of the old Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. Although it never says that in the book, it is certainly a theme in the book. And it wouldn't surprise me if each of the 2 authors had remembered that quote as, their readers. And so, anyway, that is kind of the essence of Gwendy's Button Box. I had mentioned earlier that it had illustrations in the book. The cover was done by Ben Baldwin, and it's a wonderful color. This is Richard Ferris. This is Mr. Ferris talking with Gwendy at the top of a staircase, which is a very important part of the story. And we can see part of the town. It's really a good cover. Stephen King covers aren't always my favorite, but I do like this cover. It's bright and dark, both, and it certainly contains things that are in the story. So the cover was done by Ben Baldwin. And then we have illustrations inside that were done by Keith Manison, I believe. Yeah, Keith Minion did the illustrations on the inside of the book. So it's a quick read. I highly recommend it. Now, I do think this was heavily influenced by an author who is no longer with us, Richard Matheson. If you know anything about Stephen King, that was an author that he greatly loved. And Richard Matheson, I believe, kind of maybe had the seeds in this story, because in 1970, Richard Matheson wrote a short story called Button Button. And it was a story about a box with a single button. And a stranger would pass on the box to someone. And basically, if you hit the button, you could get something that you wanted and wished for. But the key was, you knew that when you did that, something bad was going to happen to a stranger. And that was the result of you pressing the button. That's an interesting take. And I think it's the gem of this story. I think Mr. King and Mr. Chizmar kind of took that concept of a button box and put it on steroids, as we got a lot more buttons to it, a lot more levers, and a lot more things that the box can do. But I think you got to give some credit to Richard Matheson. I've watched other reviews on this book, and I haven't really seen that come up, but I do believe that influence is here. One, because King liked Mr. Matheson. And speaking of that particular story, that short story was made into a 1980s Twilight Zone episode. And then it was later the basis for a movie called The Box, which was released in 2009. So again, I like this read. I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's an easy read. You can read it in a day. It's fun. Gwendy is a delightful character. We get to watch her grow up and traverse through middle school and high school. And her family is a part of the story. A best friend is a part of the story. A boyfriend is a part of the story. So I do recommend it. It particularly since it's a quick read. Now, what I did not know at the time, when this came out, that was the first time I read it. I actually read it way back in 2017. It was a quick read, like I said, and unbeknownst to me, and I don't know if anyone else knew it, but this turned into a trilogy of books. The second book was written solely by Richard Chizmar, and then the third book was another collaboration between Mr. King and Mr. Chizmar. And we'll be covering those books in the future. But for now, I do recommend Gwendy's Button Box for constant readers, for fans of Stephen King, and for fans of short story that want to see what King's up to in his latter kind of years. And I liked it, and it's a recommend. Like I said, 4 out of 5 for this one. I appreciate you joining me. Thank you very much. If you like this video, hit like, subscribe to my channel, Observations from the Fence Post, and I hope to do Mr. King's books and many other books in the future. And thank you for joining me. I have a little phrase I say at the end of my videos: keep it between the ditches, and peace always.